Basically, the history of subaltern culture is also the marginals of society. That became a very major theme in my films, but not always. I tried with middle class people also. But this film actually, The Puppet's Tale, is very different from all of my other films. Yeah. In terms of its time, this is pre-independent India, just during the time of World War, was happening in a small village in Bengal, and the struggle between the modernity and the tradition. And I think this question has again come up in India very strongly, with the religious fundamentalism playing a major role now in India. So I think that my film is getting more and more relevant because of that. And it's a story of a doctor who could have made a lot of changes, who has the ability to make a difference, but because of the passivity or indecisions, he failed.
Absolutely. You just mentioned it's it's a period movie in a way, based on a novel. It's a very famous author.
It's a very famous novel.
It's Manik
Bandyopadhyay, the
exactly.
same issue. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a famous Marxist writer, by the way, but left-wing writer he was.
Look, I think Manik, I will not say Bandyopadhyay again and again, but let's say Manik. Manik was a very different kind of writer. He was very psychological. So I don't think Marxists claim him as a Marxist writer, but he is not like, you cannot like brand him as Marxist. He has his proximity or closeness to sometimes Marxist party, but he's also at the same time very much influenced by Freud, whom Marxists hate actually, in terms of that. So I think, so I would not say, I will not say him as a completely Marxist writer, because his novels sometimes really go in a very different trajectory.
And you just said the whole story set in the 30s, in the 1930s, 1936. And I have to admit, for me watching the movie, it was not so very much important. Maybe for a European perspective, it's quite difficult to understand exactly the historical background, even though I understood very well the conflict and everything. It's timeless in a way. Maybe it's not so important for us to know exactly the time when it happens.
Actually, the novel is written 1935, 36.
Okay.
But I have brought forward the timeline to 1940, 41, 42, and there is a direct historical reference to the Japanese bombing of Calcutta. So, the plane which bangs into the village is one of the Japanese flights. Because I thought that I will bring that shift, the time shift, to make it more vibrant, the dynamics of difference, what is happening around the world, and what is this small village is responding to that. If you see that these old people, they're reading newspaper, they're reading all kind of news, including the news from Russia, like Stalin, and then at the same time, the war news is coming, Second World War is happening, and it was true that the food from India went to the Second World War, and then we had a great famine. That famine took millions of people. And our great filmmaker, Satyajit Ray, he made a film on that, The Distant Thunder, which is based on that famine. So my film ends at that point of time. The famine is coming. The bad times are coming.
But as I said, the conflict in a way is timeless, because as you described it, it's a very important today, the conflict between tradition and modern thinking maybe. And in the movie, it is very interesting to see all the expectation by the people in this village. He comes back, of course, back to the roots in a way, and some people are really happy that there's someone there who's really skilled doctor, but some people are really afraid of him because they're really clinging to old traditions. And so we have really this conflict in a village in a very small stage. It's the smallest room, possible room. That's maybe a great way for you of storytelling with all those people you can tell us about this conflict.
Actually, you know, this is a kind of a microscopic study, taking a small village and then go into the mindset or the prejudices or the social, prejudices of the society. And if you see that, so she wanted to change that. He wanted to change it, but he always fails, because suppose the fight between the Pandit, take an example, the most important scene in the film, when the Pandit, who is fighting for his son science, and Shoshi is talking about modern science, and then suddenly he get agitated, very angry, and say that, I can die the day I want. And so she knows that's completely nonsense, cannot do that. But he convinced the villagers, and actually the funniest thing is that he actually spread the rumor. As a modern man, he could have just avoided, and then he spread the rumor, and because of that, this man has no other way than to commit the suicide or commit that death of thing, because he knows that if he says no, it was wrong, then he will lose his respect. At the same time, it's a strange mix of homicide and suicide. But at the same context, Shoshi, who could have protested and talking to people like this is impossible, he has to take opium or take some kind of poison to do that. But he kept a kind of a silent witness to the entire event, and the crazy people, it's a fanaticism, the religious fanaticism which took over. So I think this is what we are talking about in today's world, the fanaticism, the lie can actually become a truth. And that is what, and if the modern man keeps silent, doesn't, we get scared that I may be beaten up, because fanatics are like that. But if modern people keep silent, this is what they takes over. And that's the relevance of my film.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the amazing actors, by the way, because as far as I know, they're very famous Bengali actors. It's Abia Chatterjee and Yaya Asar. Yeah? Was it? Okay. They're both, for instance, really famous actors, like stars, and you worked with them.
Abir Chatterjee is quite a big Bengali star. Yes. And Joya Hassan works in Bangladesh and in India also. India means Bengal. But she is also quite a big star. They all done 50, 60 feature films. Huge stars. And Dhritiman Chatterjee, who played the old man, he was the hero of Mr. Ray, Satyajit Ray. And so Ray found him as an actor, as a young actor, but he's also very senior, respected actor.
So you just described perfectly, I think, the message in a way of your movie, and everyone can understand it all over the world. It premiered in Rotterdam.
It premiered in Rotterdam, yes.
And it was very successful there. So do you think that it's very helpful maybe to have amazing, very well-known stars, and also a way of storytelling that is very emotional, very advanced in a visual way, which is beautiful done, that it might be helpful to reach people, to open the door for your message, for a broader audience?
Yeah, but the stars will not matter to Europe or America, but of course to the Bengal. Because I think that it is the film's content, which is, if somebody is liking it, then it's about the film's content and good acting. Outside Bengal, it is because the stars, they're not like Robert De Niro's or Brad Pitt's, whose people know. But actually, if people are liking it, and I think the cinematography, the actors, the actresses, the music, the editing, everything combines together. And it is a huge novel, it's a huge canvas. I have to follow, for the film, I have to follow a certain way to adapt it for the screen, because cinema is not copying literature. It has its own language, so you have to bring a completely new language to it while adapting it.
Of course, wonderful movie, very touching, very amazing. There's a love story in it, we shouldn't forget it. It's also part of this storytelling. And der Film wird morgen gezeigt im Kino 1 um 15:30 Uhr. So it's a huge screen tomorrow. It's the biggest theater, so it might be wonderful for your movie to be screened there. And thank you so much for being here. It was a great honor. Thank you so much
for being here.
Vielen Dank. Danke euch. Und danke, dass Sie alle so lange da waren. Morgen sehen wir uns wieder, 23 Uhr. Und da fängt es ungewöhnlicherweise mal an mit einem Gespräch über Filmmusik. Da kommt nämlich Günter Fischer, der auch ein Konzert dann hat am Freitag mit Uschi Brüning. Und wir reden über Solo Sunny und warum das Klavier verstimmt ist. Wenn Sie das mal gehört haben, Solo Sunny, das berühmte Lied, das Klavier ist nicht richtig gestimmt, ist aber Absicht. Werden wir morgen erklären. Danke nochmal, dass Sie da waren.